Welcome to Parkbench Tutors. For more information about Parkbench Tutors, look us up at parkbenchtutors.com or find us on Facebook. In this podcast, we're going to look at documents produced for employees. So, what documents can you think of that employees will use? Well, we need a job description, payslips, contracts, policies and rules, and I'm sure you can think of quite a few others as well. Warning notices, which we hope won't be needed. There are some special issues with employee documents that you should be aware of. There is the issue of confidentiality, and there is an issue of conforming to law, and there are at least two sets of law that you need to be aware of: employment law and the Data Protection Act. Right, you're concerned with accounting. Why is it important for accounting to have good communication with employees? Well, because accounting is usually the department that looks after the payroll, and so it needs to have a knowledge of what's gross pay and how to calculate net pay from that, which means knowing something about the related payments for national insurance, for income tax, and for any pension schemes and other deductions that are used within the business. Okay, let's go back to some of these documents. What should a job description include? Well, you might be able to think of the title, who they report to, which department they work in, what's the purpose, what are their duties and responsibilities, and so on. Here's a typical job description. What about an employment contract? Is there anything that should be included in that? Well, yes, in law, an employment contract has to set out the conditions of employment, the rights, the responsibilities, and the duties. And health and safety? Well, health and safety usually consists of policy documents, but remember also warning signs are a form of communication, as is guidance on using those, and procedures to follow in the event of any emergency. And last but not least, who to contact if you have issues about health and safety. Now, when you are faced with the problem of communicating about health and safety, other places you can get help. Yes, you can go to the Health and Safety Executive website, and that will tell you all you really need to know about documentation for health and safety. Let's return to our employee details, because they're more relevant probably to accountants. You're in the accounting department or in the human resources department. You will have the basic details of each employee, and you should be able to find out when the employee works, so your records should include, in this case, the hours worked each day, so that they have normal hours, you can see, of 7 hours a day for a 35-hour week. Anything else? Yes. How much is the employee going to be paid? You can see here that the employee is paid monthly, and that means they have a salary, and in order to determine how much tax gets deducted, they have a tax code, they have an NI code for that, they have a national insurance number, an NI reference, and the payment method, which in this case is shown by check. All of these are on the left hand side of this document. Okay, so how much have they been paid so far? Our payroll record should show that. So if I pull up the record here for my employee Tanya Nile, who was monthly paid, I can see that she's actually only received 1 month's pay, and she was paid 860 gross, which after we deducted insurance came to 846.78. She didn't pay any tax. That was the first month of working probably. And we also see that the employer made a contribution to national insurance. So what does the employee receive for their records? Because the accounting department also has to produce that. And there's a typical example of what the employee receives. This information is called a pay slip or a wage slip, and you can see it has to contain certain information. So if you look at it, you can see it's got NI codes, tax codes, pay periods, basic salary, and all the deductions, and the total salary to date for this and any other in previous employment. Remember that information about employment that you produce about payroll is also used externally. So Her Majesty's Customs and Excise are interested in collecting the taxes and national insurance. And that completes our session on information for employees. And remember that it's important that you understand and present information to employees neatly and accurately. You don't want to end up with one of these and finding that you're then applying for other positions. We wish you luck on your studies. Thank you for watching and listening. This podcast was narrated by David Hopcroft and brought to you by Parkbench Tutors. You can find us at parkbenchtutors.com or look us up on Facebook.